have founders going for a while, and then after the significant work is done, they establish the actual entity. Do you suggest that they do assignments of IP rights to the corporation, or is it maybe part of a capital contribution to the LLC?
Yeah, so that's a great question. All right, we got the pizza. Excellent. All right, how about the beers, man? You got those? I always like driving here thinking I got a nice case of beer or two here, have a couple beers. It's been a tough day. IP ownership is really key. Part of the documentation, often as part of the restricted stock purchase agreement, there's always IP created, right? Either you've created it as part of the code or you have a domain name. IP stands for intellectual property. And so the company name, this stuff has to get assigned to the corporation. And so usually as part of the restricted stock purchase agreement, you would assign the IP. And then often the accountants will say, and this is to your question, I don't want to get too complicated here, I'm already getting way too complicated. There's something called a 351 transfer. IP goes into the corporation, the shares are issued, tax-free, everything's cool. The accountants get the basis in the share, you have to value the IP, and that's how it's done. It's really important because what often happens is the IP never gets assigned. That's what I'm saying. Everything's fine until investors come in, and guess what? I mean, they're going to do like a proctology exam, excuse my French here, particularly the VCs. You know, they spend weeks flipping pages, a big law firm, going through everything, and they come up with a list of all the problems. Some of those problems are not solvable. You know, you started your business with 2 co-founders. You guys have been coding it up, but the third guy left. He's gone. He never signed anything. He's in Mexico. You're trying to track him down. Like, Charlie, you got to sign this. I'm like, screw you, man. I don't want it. You guys kicked me out, right? So that's why I say all this stuff has to get nailed down. I've seen everything, okay? Everything's got to kind of get buttoned down now. And that's why, okay. So now I think we're getting like too much here. So any other questions? Yeah. Just a document. Yeah, everything. That's right, exactly. And so what we normally do in this restricted stock purchase agreement, that's what I was saying, it's a technical document. You have sort of a schedule where you just list all your IP. And so we say as part of the purchase of the shares, you're transferring the IP. Yeah, none of this, all these forms these are sort of, everything's forms driven. It's not rocket science, believe me. It's just that these are issues that they come back and haunt you if they're not buttoned down early on. If you get a good law firm or a strong law firm to help you, they will take care of all these issues. I mean, I'm not here pitching lawyers or pitching my firm, but I think having a different perspective than you all and just seeing things, I'm in a different world. I get the calls with all the mistakes and see the mistakes, so that's why I'm trying to share them with you. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. You're just rubbing your eye. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if this mic's working, by the way. That friend's gone. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. So you were talking about the vesting?
Yeah.
And I was wondering who do I correspond with? Because, like, right now, for example, I'm fine with, like, LegalZoom.
Uh-huh.
And so I have to report to them, like, how many shares each founder or each principal has right now. And so do I do this, like, now, or, like, how would I do it? Like,
when did you issue the shares?
I think I'm sending it, my partner's sending it in this week.
This week? Sending it where?
To LegalZoom.
Oh, that's good. That's great. So, I don't know. We got to, check the directory. Hello, LegalZoom? I'm sending you my shares. I don't know. What are you doing with some guy at LegalZoom? Or I don't even think LegalZoom presents this document. I don't know. I'm not, you'll have to, I can maybe talk afterward with you, but it's a separate document. This is what I'm saying. Guys like you come to me and they've worked on LegalZoom. What is it, like $99 or something? 400? Okay. So do you have a restricted stock purchase agreement? Or?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But so usually do I talk to an accountant for this, like for the restricted, like the vesting document?
Normally you would talk to a lawyer. And so related to vesting, so here's another ring. There's something called an 83B election, so that's the one you want to talk to the accountant about. So what's 83B election? You need an accountant to file that with the IRS. This relates to vesting. Another, something to spin your mind. 83B simply means that this is a good thing, a very good thing. Your shares, as I said, if you do it all right, you form a corporation, the shares are worth nothing. You file this simple form with the IRS because you have a vesting schedule. And then as the shares vest over time, you're not taxed. Presumably the corporation is increasing in value. If you don't file this form, and this is a mistake that I was going to save for next time, you're screwed, basically. So you better write that down and call your guy at LegalZoom. He's going to... Pardon me?
You were going to wait till next time to say you're screwed.
Is there a time period that you have to file that 83B?
30 days. Yeah, it has to be in the IRS's office by 30 days. Another common mistake. We're talking too much tax here, so people will be like, this guy is just driving me crazy. Yes.
Okay, so I'm a startup.
Okay.
A lot of people. And in order to secure a couple employees, I said, okay, well, you could have this much equity in the company. And so they agreed and are working with me now. And when I was talking to my lawyer, she has a similar background to you, and so she's new to like startup law, but she used to work with like Series C, D, and E
Oh, good.
corporations.
Okay.
And she was saying that it's illegal to have employees that I'm not paying double the minimum wage to protect them from working overtime hours, unless they're co-founders. And so right now I'm like, she either has to go back and amend the Delaware incorporation because I'm the only founder and make them co-founders, or I have to somehow get tons and tons of money from somewhere and start paying them double minimum wage. Have you come across that?
I was going to talk about employment. So employment's like a whole, some of this, look, I'm going through this pretty quickly, and I know it's overwhelming. That's why we don't do 10, we do 5. Employment, all of these I can talk for an hour, literally. And I have. And I don't want anyone to hear this stuff for an hour each, but employment is a whole nother ballgame, particularly here in California. And so employment is so screwed up in this state. And so I guarantee everybody's messing up their employment laws. I got a friend who worked for these big, they represent the companies. You can get sued for anything for employment violations here in California, unfortunately. So, people ask me employment questions, and I just say, the reality is, yes, of course you have to comply with employment law, but, if you tried to comply with every employment law or every law, you wouldn't be able to run a business. So this issue comes up all the time. All the big firms in Silicon Valley say you have to pay your employee minimum wage, not double minimum wage. And obviously, you have to work overtime. There are other issues. So to get around that, you make them a co-founder. I don't know if that works. But that's sort of the practice by making them a co-founder. It's sort of what is a co-founder? A co-founder is a kind of a broad term that the people in Silicon Valley have come up with, but. If you give someone 10%, 20%, and you don't pay them, technically they're a co-founder now. They have a fancy title. But these are true employees. You've got a whole issue, issuing stock. Is it stock or options?
I think it's options.
You set up a stock option plan?
Yeah, she's setting it up.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting now because I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what that means. Like, are they going to, heaven forbid they kick me out of the company if they're a co-founder? Like, I don't legally know what happens once you become a co-founder.
Yeah, depending on how many shares you've issued. Right, and so that's why you want to, we were talking earlier about 50-50. Well, ideally, if you're starting a company, you want to have the most shares, right? You want to control the company. You want to have 50 plus 1. This way you elect the people on the board. Presumably it could just be one person on the board. It's just you. That's the nice thing about Delaware. You can have one director. You control the company. You're the board member, sole board member. You're the CEO. So the fact that you give 10% or 20% to a co-founder is kind of irrelevant, right? Because they don't control the board. You do. You have the majority. So that's the key. When you do 50-50, you can see the issue. That's why I was relating to that. Yeah, it's a tricky issue. I don't know. I'm happy to talk to you after. Maybe you can make them independent contract. Well, that's not. California technically, if you're an employee, you're an employee, and then you have all.
Considered a consultant.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can. Right. That's what I was going to say. You can. Perhaps. Well, it's the same thing. Yeah, but you got to be careful with that in California because then you have all these groups. Labor Department coming down. And it's just a mess. Yeah. So that's what you try to do.
Tell them what to do. Like if they're helping you create, and you're not like giving them the computer off, office space, blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that, but I think that's supervision is the key.
VAs where they're not even in California and they're working out of their own home.
Yeah.
Any luck with VAs?
What is a VA?
A virtual assistant?
Oh.
I don't know what they're doing for you, but there's all kinds of specialized VAs out there.
Yeah, that's what a lot. So we're getting into this next time, but All right. Excellent. Look at this guy. Efren. I tell you, this guy's unbelievable, Efren. Everyone on Twitter, we got to follow Efren and give him a tweet. Wait, do I have my BlackBerry here? Yeah, we got to tweet Efren. Hold on a second. Let's take a photo of him coming in with the beer. Yeah. Excuse me, we're taking a break here. Let me see if this... I am so bad technically. Oh, here he is. Hold on a second. This is unbelievable. Look at this guy. Hey, Efren. All right. We're going to tweet this. Oh, fantastic. This guy is unbelievable. Maybe we should take a beer break or something. What's time, 8 o'clock? So mistake number 5. Now, this is my favorite. So who can recite the 4 mistakes for $10 right now? Efren? All right, man. This guy's unreal. Anybody? Okay. Okay, let's see if you can try 4 mistakes without looking at your notes. The 4 and the others will be the judge. IP. Wait, you can't just use these buzzwords. What do you mean IP?
Like if you work for someone, you have to make sure you're like legally okay with.
Right. Okay. 1 for 1.
IP, how to incorporate and when to choose what entity.
All right. Can you be more specific?
Go with Delaware.
Right. All right. 2 for 2. All right. Now we're getting tough.
I'm lost. I'm dead. That was it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice try. Nice try. Okay. Mistake? Okay. Here's my favorite. Then we're going to call it a night. Number 5, my favorite, is not. Well, number 3, by the way, was was splitting the equity equally. I mean, that's the mistake. Particularly 50-50. It drives me crazy, but you can do it people do it all the time. And number 4 was the whole vesting, not setting up vesting schedules. You got to remember that one. And that is just unbelievable. Because what's going to happen in 6 months, if you have a co-founder or a year, they may leave, right? Maybe they want to go to another state. Maybe they're getting divorced. Maybe they're just sick of you. Maybe, whatever. And now they got all this equity, right? And so that's not fair. They've only worked for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Number 5 is complying with the securities laws. And I chuckle because this is just like, as bad as everything, these first 4, the securities laws are just unbelievable. I've written like a whole bunch of articles. So, there's so much stuff you can mess up here. So I wrote an article recently on the Huffington Post about trying to raise capital via LinkedIn and Facebook. Now, this is like the newest thing. I just can't believe it. I come from the big firms and all this conservative stuff. People are like raising money on Facebook. Hey, and I got this great project. Send me money. Okay, you can't do that, okay? That's called a general solicitation. It's a violation of securities law. You guys will end up in jail. You got to be... I'm sorry? Well, that's different, yeah, because that's like, you're not really getting a profit interest. That's like a charitable contribution, so that's different. I'm talking about, raising money. You can't advertise, you can't solicit, okay? The way the game is played is you got to go out there and hustle and build relationships with other entrepreneurs who know investors or with investors. This is about just good old-fashioned hard work. People ask me, Scott, I don't know, how am I going to raise money if I don't know anybody? And the answer is you got to work. Seriously. This is an era where you can reach these investors on Twitter. You can reach them on, there's so many ways to go to conferences. And so this is the test. Investors tell me all the time, VCs, angels, they all say the same thing. I want to see the resourcefulness and tenacity of the entrepreneur. Because guess what? This is what an entrepreneur needs to be successful. It's not just going to be getting money to me. It's going to be banging on doors and selling products. It's going to be banging on doors and trying to get great employees. And this is what it's all about. So if you're not able to convince an investor to invest in your company, how are you going to create, this is it in a nutshell. So they're really smart, these VC guys and super angels. They're just going to watch and see what you do and how you get it to them, right? And say, wow, it's not just one email. The guy's never going to respond. No one responds. It's not going to be one tweet. It's going to be going on, maybe they're writing blogs and you're going on and making these comments, right? Maybe after a couple months, they kind of remember your name. Then you're at a conference. Hey, how you doing? Dave McClure. How you doing, Mark Susta? Hey, oh yeah, you've been writing on my, hey, what's up? Hey, I got this new venture. Let's grab a cup of coffee. That's how it's done. There's a whole bunch of posts out there talking about this. You know, talking about hustling, talking about going to conferences, talking about building relationships. Look, you guys are all here on St. Patty's Day. I mean, this is unbelievable. So obviously, you know, you're doing something right, you know. Half the town's drunk, you know, lying